This is Richard Mwenja exclusive. Welcome to the conversation. This is your only point of call on matters political and governance analysis. I'm Richard Mwenja. Such a pleasure to have your company with us here. And straight to the day's conversation. But before we get to the nitty-gritties of it, allow me to introduce the gentleman who's going to help me unpack our day's conversation. He is none other than the celebrated think tank and former minister, Honorable Ruto Arap Kirwa. So glad to have you on the show today, sir.
Yeah, thank you, Richard.
You are well?
I'm very well, and I thank God for every opportunity that you get to the show to share some thoughts, frustrations, aspirations, and prayers for this country.
It makes sense.
Yeah.
Asante sana. Straight to the day's conversation, and I want to understand this. Several people are nominated to be cabinet secretaries. They were confirmed to those respective offices. And I'm going to narrow down to CS Oparanya, Mbadi, Opio, and I, whom this far we've seen their backyards receive them, homecoming ceremonies. People celebrating. Some of them were welcomed by traditional dancers in their private residences. And I want to understand this. You've been a minister. When someone is appointed to such positions, are such positions ethnic trophies? Because I don't understand.
Well, they are supposed to be national in terms of character and outlook. After that, it is up to the person to define himself whether he's a minister for Kenya or a minister for the village that he comes from. But also there is this mistaken view that if you come from a certain village, that village should be different from the other villages. Possibly if it did not have tarmac road crossing it, they will have tarmac road, they will have a new school, and perhaps you will build a church next to your house, so that on the days of reckoning, you have somewhere to go and rest before you are interred. The second issue is that there is this what we call chronism, which has visited our country in such a large way, and a child to be employed to the military, if you don't know the Minister for Defense, or there is nobody to connect you to the Minister for Defense, or to the generals in the army, then you have no chance other than paying 400,000 to 800,000 shillings for every recruitment that is done. And the other thing is that there is supposed to be provision of lagis, such that the minister, for every day that you visit, apart from a cup of tea and food, he does not just leave you with nothing. He gives you bus fare, even if you are walking 10 meters from his compound. He gives you bus fare, and there is no bus in between. Perhaps 5,000, and that's not the money that you need for bus fare. So there is that patronage that has been built, and therefore people associate a ministerial appointment with power. They also expect that when you get to the position of a minister, you are going to make yourself very rich. And if you don't buy a chopper after 5 years, then you do not do a good job of the job that you are given. Those are the things that are in people's minds. And generally, we are happy that our village now will be visited from time to time by serious people, including the head of state.
Talking of which, I met someone here across the Junction Mall, and they told me, was that Ruto Kirwa coming to your studio driving himself? Hakuiba ya kutosha. He was not bright enough like fellow ministers who are now traversing the country on choppers.
Yes.
Is that what you're trying to speak into?
No, I'm not speaking into that, because you see, a chopper, you can steal and buy one. But for how long are you going to have it? And also, you can be modest. I've told you, when the late President Mwalimu Julius Kambarage Nyerere passed on, equivalent of $10,000 was in his account. And he's left with a parcel of land that inherited from his father, who had inherited from his grandfather, 52 acres. Today, if you are a minister and you don't have 2,000 acres, then they think you are not serious. Or some few houses in Nairobi, Kakamega, and perhaps in Homa Bay. Then they say you are not serious.
Uyu amelala uyu.
Uyu amelala. And yet your salary really, even if you are to best of intentions, my salary when I left the ministry was 1 million. That could buy you more than 3 acres or 10 acres in Kitale, or even more.
So nowadays people are seeing state appointments, especially those of CS, PSs and above, to be avenues for primitive accumulation of wealth.
You can say that again. They don't see it, but it's not from the salaries. The salary cannot buy you all that. In fact, during my time, your 3 months salary could have bought you 1 acre in Karen. But today you have to serve for 60 months or 70 months for you to enable you buy 1 acre in Karen.
So when they are having these homecoming ceremonies and people are cheering towards such appointments, because they also want to be part of that loot which you are terming state-sponsored opulence, they also want it to trickle down to them?
Yeah, they want to be part of the gravy train. So when we talk about corruption in Kenya, don't look at the leaders alone. Even the ordinary people, they don't mind as long as you are stealing and sharing with them. It is when you are not sharing with them that you become a problem. So you are either not sharing with them because you have no capacity to steal, or you did not have the appetite to steal, or you are not sharing with them because you don't have. So either way, they don't like you.
So when you share with them, it is sanitized. It is no longer graft.
It becomes like sadaka that you are giving it now. You are blessing those who are with you because you have been blessed before by the gravy train. Yeah.
What do you make of those who are quick to opine that sasa sisi tumepewa CS wawili, hakuna haja ya maandamano? What do you make of such statements and remarks when, that come from some quarters upon appointment of their sons and daughters into CS positions?
Which means maandamano in the first place was not fundamentally to change the lives of Kenyans for the better. That's the way I read it. Because maandamano, the way I saw it, was for a fair society, a society that respects the will of the people and respects everybody, whether you have it or you don't have. You don't have to be rich to be respected. You can just be as ordinary as anybody for people to respect you, as long as you mean well for society.
A netizen here, Ongechi Makori, is telling me, tumepatiwa ministry ya education, hatuoni haja ya maandamano tena.
Well, I don't know whether they would be educated themselves, or whether the model, the financing model of university education is going to change in that county, unlike the rest of the country. Yeah.
Moving on swiftly now, shifting gears to the last subject for today's conversation. Now, advisor to the president on some quarter, that is Moses Kuria, has foreseen a situation whereby before 2027, those who go join government from the opposition are likely to walk out of it to strategize themselves for 2027 politics. Do you foresee Moses Kuria's prophecy coming to reality?
Yes, because for the last 25 years in Kenya, people have not remained on the same side of the divide. They have always kept on shifting camps. If you are to trace the birth of those who are in government today, whether it's Moses Wetangula, whether it's Speaker Kingi, whether it's the president himself, Raila Odinga, if you are to trace with different inks, it will be a labyrinth that can create a piece of cloth, the way people have been moving. Yeah, and that would tell you that Kenyans have not stabilized politically. We are still looking for each other. There are people in Azimio who are good. There are people in Kenya Kwanza who are good. And there are also people in Azimio who are not so good, and vice versa. Yeah.
Sure enough. That point by former minister and celebrated think tank Kipruto Arap Kiro takes us to the wrap of the day's conversation, discussing a plethora of issues in the world of politics and governance. It is at this point that you should allow me to exit your screens, but not before I thank Mheshimiwa for slating your time for this particular edition.
It's my pleasure.
Asante sana.
Yeah.
Full of wisdom as usual.
I try.
You borrowed this from your mother or father? Which one?
Both.
Both of them?
Both of them, but one gave me more than the other.
Who is that? Drop the bomb.
No.
You don't want to do that?
No, I'm an African child.
They cannot disown the father before the public, huh?
Yeah, that's true.
I get it. Until we meet next time on Richard Mwenje Exclusive, enjoy the rest of your day, but keep this conversation going beyond here. I'm at Mwenje Richard on X and on TikTok. Slide to my DM. Let's engage.